Hello everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I don't have my mic today, so sorry if the volume is not that great. I'm actually going to start just knock out a bunch of requests or crypto related right off the bat for my YouTube channel. This is Zcash, Grayscale Trust ZCSH. It's a bullish chart. You can see a big giant cup and handle, and so far it's breaking above the handle over here. The tough part is always when it comes to something like this, like how high would it go? I don't know. I guess I could do a Fibonacci level here. You can see currently it's trying to break about the 0.382, having a little bit of hard time doing so for a couple months now, right? But you are having a broken trend line down here. It does look like it wants to continue upwards. And they did get rejected here at 0.618 here last time, so it's probably going to gravitate up back to the 0.618 here, but it can take months to do so. I actually don't know how far Zcash is going to go. It probably needs to break above the 0.786 before it really can get really bullish. And I can see the 0.786 being, pretty strong resistance here if it's able to break above the 0.618, which is around $10.74, right? So that probably would be like the cycle top as far as I'm concerned, unless if it breaks through that. And I do see that Zcash should probably end up pushing up higher. I just don't know whether or not it's going to be able to break above the 0.76 until it proves me wrong, right? But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty bullish chart. If you just look at the Ichimoku, you can still see there's some resistance here to be broken above. On the monthly here, let me see if it can actually load up. It's still underneath a lot of resistance here, right, between the 0.382 and the 0.5. So probably a little bit more resistance to even push back up to 0.618. But that's probably where it's going to go. I love these wicks down here below on the monthly. It just tells me I think price is going to end up going higher. And when it does, it's probably going to get to 0.618 here in a hurry. The 20-month moving average, if you're loading this up here, you can see that it's basically bounced off the 20-month moving average multiple months in a row. It looks like a very nice look. I think it's going to have some bullish continuation. So that's the ZCSH. We're going to look at another one that I've been asked about, which is Canon. Canon is I believe it's a mining machinery company. One thing that I generally like to do when I look at the chart like this on a downtrend is a couple of things I want to see. One is I want to see it really flipping the 20-month moving average here from resistance to support. Right now it's still resistance as far as I'm concerned. I would really like to see it flattening. And I suppose if you zoom in, I suppose the 20-month moving average is kind of flattening. And I suppose there's a chance where November might end up getting above it and maybe even flip it into support, right? But so far it has yet to really proven to me that it's able to do that. So I'm going to be a little bit more cautious here still with Canon. But it did start to kind of reclaim the tank here as support, but it's still very negative sloping, right? So there's still a few things here I'm just kind of like, I don't know, I'm going to keep watching it and see what it does. It's starting to get inside the weekly Ichimoku cloud, but you see how it got rejected over here last time. It just kind of went down a lot, right? With Bitcoin going up this high, with miners probably going to do pretty decent moving forward, I can totally see that Canon might end up getting to the top of the cloud here. But it's still going to be some pretty strong resistance up there when it gets there. So we'll see what happens. I'm not convinced enough to want to buy into Canon just because you have a lot of other cryptocurrency related stocks that are in a bull trend. That this is still a little bit of falling knife because you're still hitting a little bit of resistance here. And I would like to see it form a little bit of a higher high, which it has yet to do here on the weekly. So I'm going to be a little bit more cautious here with Canon. If you are looking at the Fibonacci from the all-time high to down here, you can see that it's also hitting the 0.236 resistance here. If it breaks through, it's still going to hit resistance here at 0.382. It's just a lot of headwind to trying to really be really bullish. So I don't know if I trust Canon quite just yet, but I think it's worth kind of watching, I guess, if you want to, because even if it's going from like the current level, if it breaks above resistance, it gets to 3.31, that's still a lot of potential gains to be made, right? So I would say maybe just going to continue to watch it and see what it does. But yeah, I don't trust it quite just yet. Regarding GRYP, I've had somebody who had asked me to chart this before, and then like the CEO of this company had reached out to me basically saying that the chart before like 2024 didn't really count just because it's a completely different company. So it's very hard for me to chart if I'm not able to use like previous price action to tell me what could potentially happen, because right now I still see it as a downtrend. and I would just not really, not really recommend this to anybody. It is flipping the Tenkin on the weekly here, the blue line here from resistance, maybe to support here a little bit. So this is a positive sign. Maybe it gets from here to about like $1.10 or something like that. You're going to see some resistance up there. Yeah, I think that it is kind of potentially forming a little bit of a bottom formation here, but I'm just not seeing enough for me to want to jump in. Even if you look at the RSI, I'm seeing some like bearish divergence here, so you're probably gonna end up having a workout for some technicals. I'm just not sure if this is ready to run yet, because the bearish energy for from technical analysis standpoint is still not resolved. So I would probably end up staying away from this here a little bit. Got a couple of other ones here. This is an interesting one for me. Granite shares, which is 3x long MicroStrategy ETP 3LMI. I have no idea what this is. The question was asked to me was to whether or not this is something that I would want to get into if MicroStrategy is going to have a pretty big pullback potentially, if Bitcoin's going to have a pretty big pullback potentially. I don't know that. I mean, I think that Bitcoin is hitting around like 89,500 resistance level. I don't know whether or not it's going to hold. Hold as resistance, because actually, to me, I think the stronger resistance is around 100,000. So it's hard for me to say for sure whether or not MicroStrategy is going to end up like pushing through. Right now, MicroStrategy is at the let me see here. I'm going to show you this. Right now, MicroStrategy is at the 1.414 resistance level, but I can potentially see it going to 1.618 here as well, right? So I don't want you to like lose money because of what I'm saying. I probably would not want to be like comfortable doing 3x leveraged long ETF, just because there's a lot of decay with this. As you can see, like MicroStrategy has done extremely well over the last few months, but you end up having a pretty significant down leg all the way from like 1,000 all the way to like like $11 or $13. I don't know. I probably might be more comfortable with like MSTX. Even then, I'm not in it. I have a small position in MSTR, and I'm more looking to like other plays right now. So I think I might be a little bit more interested in not over leveraging MSTR, but it's hard for me to say. If I just look at the chart by itself, it doesn't look bearish. I think that there's potential for it to hit the Ichimoku cloud over here, which is going to be doubling and tripling potentially. But I just I'm just not gonna get into something like this. A couple of other ones I've been asked to do. They're more like actual crypto. One is RNDR. Let me go ahead and see if I can pull up the chart here. With Bitcoin pulling back today, RNDR actually made a very nice move recently. There you go, RNDR. I did a Gann chart here, 360 and 1, and this is on the weekly. And right now, RNDR is underneath the Ichimoku. I got rejected here at Ichimoku, right? But it did end up really finding some pretty good support here at the arc. It did break through the arc, and it looks like it wants to probably push the Ichimoku and push at least back to the previous high over here at that level. By the end of the year, I would imagine it wants to challenge the previous top over here. Yeah, but it's broken above the arc, so the path of least resistance is probably going to be the arc here above. I think it's probably going to end up over the next few months get to like the 30s and 40s. The 1.618 is around $74. It already had a bunch of gain from like 27 cents to like $14 or so. So I don't know whether or not it's going to have the same exponential move as it did before. You might end up having a little bit of a bullish move, maybe like 4x, or even potentially like 8 or 9x. But I'm not sure it's going to pull the same kind of sick gains that it did over the last 18 months or so. I'm just not, or actually not 18 months, over the last like 30 months or so. So I'm going to be a little bit more cautious when it comes to that. But I do think that it's going to be bullish. So that's RNDR. FET Fetch AI, actually a pretty bullish chart here too. I would say that currently it probably wants to grab it up to the arc up here around like $2, and then we'll see what happens. $2.2 or something like that. We'll see what happens. Same thing, right? Very similar chart, trying to break above the Ichimoku cloud here first, and then get to like $2.2 depending where it hits on the arc. Ultimately, I also think this is one of those that have already had a bunch of gains from like 5 cents all the way up to like $3. I'm just not sure whether or not it's going to have the same level of exponential gains, but I can potentially see it hitting the arc up here around like 20s. I can potentially see that. That could be another 10x from there. Or it might end up getting short stop right here around like 7.5, 7.3, somewhere around there. All these are all possibilities. I'm just getting a little bit more cautious whenever something has makes such a big gain within such a short period of time, that you might end up having a lot of people end up taking profits and end up just not wanting to stay in the stock. But the 1.618 is around $27.50, and it's sitting right around the arc over here, so I can potentially see that being a target. Finally, Jasmy. I do have a position in Jasmy. And Jasmy, I actually think is not looking bad at all. I actually think there's potential for it to hit the 0.618 here around 20 cents, and also even at the 0.786 here around 62 cents as well, which is a significant amount of gain from here on out, just because I see potentially breaking out this arc and get to the next arc. If it's able to break about the 0.382, generally where it goes is going to be 0.618 or 0.786, which is still a lot of significant amount of gains moving forward. It did hold the Ichimoku cloud. It flipped it from resistance over here to support, right? So this is a bullish thing. A lot of people are wondering this is whether or not this is like a head and shoulder. Should you get out of Jasmy? Well, I still think that this is probably a bull trend, higher highs, higher lows. Is flipped the weekly Ichimoku cloud from resistance to support, and right now is reclaiming the Tenkan, is kind of trying to back test the Tenkan here on the weekly. So far, I'm not really seeing anything like super concerning. It's also trying to reclaim the Burma support band from resistance here to support, right? So overall, I actually think that this is a pretty decent chart. Even when we look at the 20-month moving average, it looks like the bull trend probably wants to continue, and it's just kind of doing a little bit of a cool off after being way outside the upper Bollinger Band here at the beginning of 2024. I'm still in it. I'm not adding to it, but I see a lot of potential upsides for Jasmy, so I'm going to hold on to what I got. Anyways, those are the crypto-related stocks and some of the cryptos that you guys have asked me about. I hope that this video is helpful. I'm going to try and get to the stock request stuff later on this week, maybe tomorrow or Thursday. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.